Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we will see how to check Exchange services and Exchange health on our Exchange 2019 server. So let's go to our Exchange server. First of all, we will check the services on the server. Go to Start, go to services.msc. Sort it with the name and go to the Microsoft Exchange services series. As you can see, all these services with the Microsoft Exchange display name and startup type is automatic, should be started automatically and should be running. You can also sort by startup type and verify all the automatic services are running. As you can see, some of the automatic delayed services are not yet started because I just started the server. I can refresh. So some of these services are now starting or running. So let's scroll up and see all the automatic services are running fine. All the services which are set to automatic are running fine except to the Edge update service, which we do not have configured on our Exchange server environment. So this can be ignored. So let's sort by name again, and you can see all the Exchange services are running fine now. Let's assume that you have just installed the Exchange security update or the cumulative update, and all these services are set to disabled and not yet started, or the Exchange server might have encountered some kind of error and one of these services are not running. To simulate this scenario, let me stop these services and set these services to disabled. As you can see, I have stopped all these services and set it to disabled. So you can either manually start these services by just right clicking the service, go to properties, set to automatic, click on apply and then start the service. Or we can use the PowerShell to start all these services at once and set the type to automatic. Let's open PowerShell. In this case, we will open Exchange Management Shell and run it as administrator. Let's clear the screen. We can use get service command to list all the services. So I will also use the filter to only list the Exchange services. So I will use the parameter display name, which is like Microsoft Exchange, and then wildcard. So this should only list the services which have the display name starting with Microsoft Exchange. Let's hit enter. Let's use the same command and pipe it through set service and set the startup type as automatic and hit enter. Let's go back to services console and refresh this. As you can see, all these services are set to automatic. Let's go back to our PowerShell and use the same command again and pipe it through start service and use the parameter pass through and hit enter. They should start all the Exchange related services which has the display name Microsoft Exchange. Let's go back to services console once again and refresh the page. As you see, all the Exchange related services are now started. So this is how you can start all the Exchange services using the PowerShell commandlet. Let's close this and go back to our PowerShell. Clear the screen. So once we have all the Exchange related services running, we will have to check the Active Directory connection. For that, we can use ping and pass on the Active Directory server name, which is ADDS in our case. So simple ping request is giving us the reply from the Active Directory server. We can also use the commandlet called test net connection and pass the computer name, which is ADDS, and use the parameter information level and specify the level as detailed. As you can see, the computer name is ADDS and remote address is 106, and the interface is on Wi-Fi. The source address is 107, and the ping was succeeded. So this is how we can verify the Active Directory connection. Let's also do the NSlookup check using NSlookup. Let's test it for EX1901, which is the local server, and it gives us the IP address. So this is fine. Let's do for ADDS, and we get the IP address correctly. So we can also use google.com just to check, and we get the address for the Google sites. Let's exit out of this and clear the screen. So once we have the services checked, once we have the ADDS or the Active Directory connection is checked, we can move to the Exchange Services health checkup. Let's start with get server component and pass on the local server name using the env computer name parameter or the variable. As you can see, all the server components are active. Sometimes forward sync daemon and provisioning RPS will be set to inactive. You can set it to active by using set server component and pass on the computer name, which is this, and use the component as forward sync daemon, and the status should be active, and use the requester as health API. This should activate the component on the server. You can use the same command and change the component for provisioning RPS, and that should also work fine. So let's move forward and use the test service health commandlet, which should give us the health status of each role. So as you can see, all the roles on our Exchange server is running fine. Once you have the services health are fine, let's test the database using get mailbox database. And we have two databases here. So we can also check the database copy status to see if it is mounted or not. As you can see, both the databases are mounted on the server. Now let's test the replication health on the server using the test replication health commandlet. As you can see, these three checks have been passed, and database redundancy and database availability have been failed. This is a known error because we are using only one copy of the database and we do not have any database redundancy or the database availability configured. But if you have the database availability and redundancy configured, you should take care of this checks as well, and that should be passed. Clear the screen. In case if you have the database availability group configured, which is tag, and the cluster being used on your environment, you can use get cluster node, and you can use get cluster group commandlet to check the cluster group is online or not. You can also use the get cluster network commandlet to check the cluster network status. So once you have checked the cluster status, clear the screen and let's see the queue of the exchange mail. As you can see, we have 20 message counts which are in the submission queue. The message count below 500 threshold is considered fine. However, if the message count is more than 500, then we may need to check why the messages are being held on the submission queue or if there is any error with the submission queue. Let's use get database availability group commandlet to check the DAG functionality or the DAG status. As we do not have any DAG configured on this environment, we do not have any output here. However, if you have the DAG configured on your environment, you should see the DAG related properties by using this commandlet. So once we have checked all these Exchange services and Exchange health reports, let's go to IIS to check IIS health. As you can see, the service has been started. And if you go to application pools, all these application pools should be started. If any of the application pool is not started, you can select the pool and recycle to restart the pool. So these are the basic checks that we can do on day-to-day basis or after the Exchange activity is done. There is also a script called test Exchange server health in the GitHub repository. To check that, let's go to Edge browser and type test Exchange server health script. And go to this link, which is on the GitHub repository. This is the script which you can download using this button here. However, I have already downloaded the script on my C drive. Scripts folder here. So once you have downloaded it, you have to check the properties and make sure this is not blocked here. If it is blocked, you have to check unblock and click apply. Once it is done, let's change the PowerShell directory to this particular directory using cd and pasting this address. Clear the screen and we can just enter the script name and hit enter. This should connect to Exchange server remotely and it should test the Exchange services on the server and provide the results as you can see on the screen. As you can see, all these tests have been passed. And however, when we go to the mail flow test, it is giving us a failure warning because WinRM is not configured properly. However, if we run test mail flow commandlet, this should be succeeded as you see here. And you can also confirm the test mail flow or the mail flow functionality using OVA, which is mail.es.local OVA and log into one of the mailbox and try to send an email. As you can see, the email has been delivered and received on the mailbox. You can also verify the same on the sent items of this mailbox. So the mails are actually going through. However, the WinRM is throwing some error. So let's ignore this error. We can check this later. We have the script which can give us the report by checking all the services on the Exchange server. Let's use the same script and schedule it as a scheduled task and have it send an email on regular basis to our inbox. To do that, let's go to task scheduler. As you can see, I have already created a test Exchange Server Health task, and you can see the properties here. I have named it as text Exchange Server Health. I am running this whether the user is logged in or not and running with highest privileges. On the triggers, I have set it to run every 1 hour. You can see the same here. I set it to repeat task every 1 hour indefinitely. So let's go to action and go to edit. I'm calling the PowerShell script and I'm running it on the C scripts folder, and I only pass the script name along with the report mode send email. So these are some of the properties of this scheduled task. So if you go to test Exchange Server Health script and go to edit and go to find and find SMTP settings here. As you can see, I'm using Praveen.Sukumar as a sender and I'm sending to the same mailbox. And I have also mentioned SMTP server as mail.ps.local, which should resolve the IP address of 107 for the Exchange server. So if I run this task, once the task is completed, let's go back to our mailbox. You can see the Exchange Server Health report has been sent. As you can see, this is per server basis, and you can see all the service health and other kind of health reports here. And this is again mail flow test, which is using WinRM, and this is expected. So this is how you can schedule this script to send email reports on daily basis or hourly basis. So you can use this script and schedule it as a task to send an email report on regular basis and eliminate the manual checks on your Exchange Server Health. So that's it for this video. I hope this was informative and see you on the next one.